Blog Talk Radio.
Following ingredients include a look behind the scenes. Cook uncovered until hot. Add grooves to taste.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl.
The accident was over a year ago. A second woman has been elected president. The 12th planet has been named in the solar system. The last wild polar bear has died. I slept through it all. I was here for my waking. He called it a beginning. He said it was good. I think he may have thought that anything I did was good.
Welcome to Transition Radio with your host, Mark Angelo Cummings.
And your hostess, Jessica Cummings.
The show for trans folks by trans folks, here to let your voice be heard. Well, hello and good evening, and welcome to Transition Radio. My name is Mark Angelo Cummings, your host.
And I am Jessica Lynn Cummings, your hostess. Tonight's show is being broadcast live from none other than Silver City, New Mexico. We wanted to take a moment to thank our sponsors, thebreastformstore.com. They have everything you can imagine to enhance your feminizing needs.
And, of course, Dr. Martin Magdirosian, a facial feminization specialist based out of Jupiter, Florida. Please visit our website and click on their banner and links and show your support and tell them Transition Radio sent you. Now, remember, everyone's welcome to call in with your questions and comments. The number to call in is 646-716-6895, or visit the chat room, either the Blog Talk chat room or on our website.
And don't forget to click on our advertisers as well and support them.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Anyway, Anheuser-Busch and JetBlue are among companies targeting advertising towards LGBT consumers. To capture billions of dollars, companies are coming out of the closet with rainbow ads blazing to court lesbian, gay, bisexuals, and transgender consumers. JetBlue, which has the largest number of flights of any carrier at Long Beach Airport, says that loud and proud.
The airline has been a longtime supporter of local LGBT community, getting its brand out at large events such as Long Beach Gay and Lesbian Pride as a corporate sponsor, parade participant, and festival vendor. Nationally, the company has scored near the top of the Human Rights Campaign's Corporate Equality Index, which ranks business based on their policies and practices toward lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender employees.
It's not new for JetBlue to advertise with the gay community, said company spokesman Jace Haida. It makes sense for companies to be inclusive in their marketing efforts. Two of our core values are caring and passion. Aligning our business values with caring and passion to the community makes sense and creates brand loyalty. LGBT adults travel a lot and are brand loyal. This is really hypocritical. We personally know someone who's a pilot who we've actually interviewed.
Somebody who works for JetBlue.
Yeah, right. And we have interviewed them in the past. And they're having lots and lots of problems with this particular company being able to come out as the gender that she feels she is and have not been supportive at all. So they're getting ranked on the equality with all these numbers, and actually they're not even taking care of their own.
I wonder if there was some research done as to how many employees that they actually have that fall within the LGBT community, or are they doing it just to gain funds and
popularity
among the LGBT community, and when they're not even supporting them within their own corporation or company.
And there seems to be a wave, because we're seeing even the Burger King that came out with, the rapper, rainbow rapper. I mean, it's just one of these things that is being done to try to get business. I figure it's a smart marketing move, but are they really taking care of their LGBT employees?
As a whole, LGBT.
Exactly.
I mean, I know there's lesbian and gay stewards stewardess, stewards, and et cetera. But, how many trans people do they actually have working for their company? How many, like I said, people that fall into the LGBT category? How many people are actually employed by JetBlue?
And are they actually following suit with insurance companies and things of that nature, which is the beef, this particular individual who made us aware and asked us to talk about it on our radio segment.
Yep.
Food for thought.
Food for thought. Obama announces an executive order on gender identity. President Barack Obama said Monday that the White House is preparing an executive order banning job discrimination among federal employees on the basis of gender identity. Obama mentioned the planned measure will, while addressing a White House reception marking LGBT Pride Month.
The White House announced earlier this month that the president also intends to sign an executive order banning federal contractors from discriminating against employees on the basis of their sexual orientation or gender identity, a measure for which LGBT right groups have long clamored.
White House spokesman Shen Inouye had no immediate details on the executive order mentioned by the president on Monday. Now, my question is that, it doesn't matter how many bills you pass, companies, this is basically oriented around the federal employment. But, all gender identity has been written into most EOE corporate employee
guidelines.
Right. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome.
They're guidelines for equal opportunity employment. But how many times do you see a company or a big corporation that has actually hired a transgender person? I think that it's going to be a lot more difficult for transgender people to find jobs due to the way that things are going and people are perceiving us in the community at this point. I mean, I know if I owned a business, I'd be very skeptical that if this person didn't work out and I had to let them go, are they going to file a discrimination charge against me? I mean, look at all the banter and everything that these new wave of advocates are going after, what's that word I'm looking for? The
guidelines.
No, not the guidelines. The line that they're trying to portray us as, and people in big corporations are seeing this. I mean, perfect example was the Piers Morgan show. That was watched by CNN, political heads. That stuff's all watched by major people.
I also want to point out the whole gender identity. These actual words, do they mean individuals that are transgender or gender identity meaning male and female? There's been a lot of discrimination in the past with females in companies. So a lot of this verbiage is not very clear. And we're celebrating something that we are not exactly sure what the intents are, and are they going to be followed? Because we know that politics, they love to parade around with bullet points and say certain things. That's what politicians do to try to get elected or to stay elected or to try to pretend to make people happy. So I wouldn't be celebrating too quickly because we're seeing it left, right, and center that there's still a lot of discrimination taking place. But now, is there really discrimination taking place, or is it actually job performance and things that are taking place? And I want to read this.
How are they going to know about job performance when we're talking about bringing people off the street that fill out an application? People are looking, we're under a microscope. Especially with all the media attention that transgender individuals are getting at this moment in time. And the way that we are being represented as a whole is being
troublemaker,
negatively reflected upon all of us.
Right.
So, even though, all my documents say that I'm female and all my documents say my female name, what's to stop them from looking at me and judging me based on the way that maybe they looked or perceived me and not giving me a job because of all the hoopla going on surrounding the community, how the trans community is attacking, how some are in the community are attacking people trying to eliminate their jobs and crying and screaming that we're being discriminated against and it's causing all this violence. This is deterring people. This is going to make it much, much harder for us not only to find jobs, but to get our documents changed. Case in point, the situation that's going on currently with the DMV making these trans girls take off their wigs, their makeup, their jewelry, and not allowing them to take a picture and film. And this is how they live every day, but they're saying that this is some sort of disguise. And you know what? This is only the beginning, people. It's only going to get worse. So if you don't have your documents changed, you might want to consider going and doing it as fast as possible, because it's going to be a matter of time before everybody else starts following suit, as Virginia and the Carolinas did with the other girl.
But there's a protocol to follow, and that's why, we as transgender individuals wear our feelings in our sleeves a lot, and we try to always blame everything on the discrimination, and we don't realize there are protocols, and these protocols have been put into place by attorneys and organizations. This is what we wanted. We've got this now, but now we're still claiming discrimination. Let's talk about our next story here. Transgender Connecticut police officer fired after complaining about harassment. An article is written by Richard Weisel. It's a note for Connecticut writers. A transgender Middletown, Connecticut police officer who complained for more than a year she had been the target of harassment by fellow officers has been fired, the city mayor said on Monday, adding the action was not the result of gender change.
Sure it wasn't. The officer who was hired 7 years ago by the Middleton Police Department as Frank Quaranta and became Francesca, I think is how you pronounce it. Francesca Quaranta, after a sex change operation 2 years ago, submitted complaints last year to the city and the state's Human Rights Commission that fellow officers had made disparaging comments that she said created a hostile work environment.
Quaranta said she would fight her termination, which she described as discrimination because of gender identity. Middletown Mayor Daniel Drew said on Monday the officer was fired because she failed a fitness for duty evaluation earlier this year, refused to take another exam this month, and had run out of paid leave. We met face-to-face with her early in June, but she refused to submit to a second evaluation, Drew said in an interview.
A psychologist who conducted the examination deemed it would be dangerous to return her to duty, but she asked for a second evaluation and then declined to be evaluated. Drew said a city review had found one case in which a police sergeant made discriminatory comments to Quaranta, and added the sergeant was suspended without pay for 10 days.
The mayor said Quaranta was trying to have it both ways by swearing in an affidavit she was fit for work, but also seeking a city pension and then refusing to be reevaluated for return to work. Quaranta has not worked since requesting administrative leave in August of 2013 when she filed complaints about her treatment in the department. The city determined there had been no harassment, while the state has yet to reach a decision. A spokeswoman for Middletown Police did not respond to calls on Monday seeking comment. Now, this has a lot of issues, not just discrimination.
Yeah, but a perfect example of how you can get around the gender identity and equal opportunity employment guidelines of any establishment or any government position. This is just a perfect case because, it sounds like, okay, they're turning this all around to make it look like it's her fault, but yet she's turning it around to make it look like their fault. Now, they have, when you come out as transgender in the workplace, you're going to be under severe scrutiny. You're going to be under a major microscope. This is just ways. If they want to find a way to get rid of you, the EOE doesn't mean crap in any situation because they can find a way to make you look like it's bad performance. Case in point, the psychologist, because of the gender dysphoria being in the DSM, etc., it's already described as a mental condition. So to be a police officer or to be in the military, you have to be deemed psychologically fit to perform your duties. All it takes is for the fact, okay, you're transgender, you're mentally not stable enough to be employed by this type of job performance, I guess you would say.
But see, if you look back at the history of all this thing, though, is she herself requested leave because of some issues. She then refused to go through a second. I mean, they've given her all these chances to go through this evaluation, yet she kept postponing it and not showing up. But
why are they making her go through a second evaluation?
Because
why wasn't
she herself, if you read the actual article, she actually had issues, and she would fight for termination and discrimination. All this discrimination, I guess, created some sort of mental distress with her, and she refused to submit a second evaluation because they had now questioned her mental sanity.
Correct.
Okay. When you're dealing with guns and you're a police officer, one of those it doesn't matter if you're transgender, heterosexual, gay, you got to be put through a lot of this
psychological rigmarole.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know that.
And that's, you can't.
But you've already got a strike against you right off the bat walking through the door because you're transgender. Now you're a mental case. Because you want to have your genitals chopped, you want to have your body changed, you want to become this female, or you're a female that wants to become a male. You're totally psychologically screwed. So, basically, the psyche eval, more than likely, being transgender, you're not going to pass.
But that's not necessarily true, because in my field, not only do I had to go through all sorts of psychological things, background check, they knew I was transgender. And
I'm the captain of the police department. Okay, we have Mr. Mark Angelo Cummings that wants to apply to the police department, to our department. He was born female, transitioned to male. He looks like a man, but, he sounds like a man. Everything about him is man. But, and the captain would be like, okay, so fail a psych eval. I mean, it's just as simple as
that. Is not true, because, like I said, I had to go through psychological because working with children, and I had to go through a whole bunch of things, and nobody gave me any hassle. The background check was there. It showed that I was female prior.
Okay.
So it is not that. It's how you conduct yourself. See, we are, as a community, very quickly to claim discrimination, because it's easier that way to blame the other individuals. Anyway.
On to the next topic. Confessions of a former Pride Grand Marshal. This year celebrates a decade since I came out as gay and threw myself into the annual ritual of beads, floats, and boas gloriously bouncing through the city streets of my chosen hometown. Given the importance of its history, Pride marks the anniversary of a local demand for equality. The fourth Saturday in June has been etched into my calendar with huge significance. But this year, I had an unusual lack of desire to celebrate in any way, which is a complete turnaround from the person that I used to be.
There was a time when I felt pride was a mandatory birthday that must be honored. I love Pride and have so many happy memories of dancing, prancing through Houston's neighborhood, waving a lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender flag. As volunteers, we gave all we had to fight for equality. Hell, I was even female Grand Marshal in 2010. So why was I so apathetic this past weekend? It's because I don't actually feel proud. It's hit me that I've been missing something through a decade of Pride. As much as we say LGBT Pride, our celebrations only reflect same-gender relationship Pride and gender non-conforming Pride, but not really a demand for full, inclusive, legal, and cultural equality.
All this time, I thought I was an ally to the transgender community, believing that they were truly included. But now I see differently. Today I feel shame, not for who I am, but for our LGBT community's collective hypocrisy. Yes, hypocrisy. Over the past 10 years, I donated thousands of dollars I couldn't really afford to lose, and more time than a part-time job to support the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, also known as DAT, D-A-T-T. Yet today, transgender people are still banned from open service in the U.S. military. And other than some kick-ass transgender organizations and individuals who within the LGBT part of the LGBT community is helping in this discrimination.
When over 50 years of the U.S. population now lives in states that guarantee the freedom to marry, and an ABC News Washington Post poll reports that 77% of adults under 30 favor marriage equality. It's about time we evaluate the fact that transgender people are twice as likely to be unemployed and 4 times as likely if they're trans person of color. Lesbian and gays outnumber the trans people 6-1. Yet transgender people are 50% more likely to be murdered.
Late 2012, I directed my efforts towards helping share the stories of transgender service members through Trans Military. Since then, I have had the privilege and pleasure of meeting people from many walks of life, especially those whose gender does not match their sex assigned at birth. The other day, I was chatting with a wonderful, sweet mom of a trans man. She said, I have a 22-year-old son who is transgender. I love him to pieces.
Do you think she cares about whether he can marry the person he loves or whether he has access to health care, won't be bullied, attacked, or murdered, and can keep and get a job? Now, I support marriage equality, of course, but while the community is trying to bow on that issue, I believe we should be elevating the needs of transgender and gender nonconforming people, especially within the LGBT community itself.
People face more stigma and discrimination based on their nonconformity to gender stereotypes than they do based on who they're with between the sheets. For example, an effeminate male will be labeled as gay, no matter what his actual sexual orientation is. Women still earn 77 cents to every man's dollar. If we change society by providing protections and change our culture to respect all people regardless of their perceived gender, we would truly be advancing equality for the whole LGBT community.
But I do have hope. Already in 2014, we have seen more mainstream media coverage of transgender people than any other year. Our president has done more to advance transgender protection than any other president. I do believe that we are at a tipping point, as the recent Laverne Cox Time cover stated. And I think trans equality takes broader human equality issues.
Not only should trans-identified people have safety and equality as their human rights, but the movement should encourage all people to examine what it means to be human, to be authentic, to be themselves. So isn't it time the whole LGBT community tipped together?
Yes, but then there are those in the T that don't want to be part of the LGB, and then they create all sorts of issues with the individuals of the LGB. So it's one of those things that, do you want it? Do you not want it? Are we going to... It's a human issue. We should stop putting labels. We should stop trying to create this division, but we know that it's all about politics, and it's all about the mighty dollar.
Exactly.
And talking about the mighty dollar and hypocrisy, Hobby Lobby is invested in numerous abortion and contraception products while claiming religion objection. In what just may be the most stunning example of hypocrisy in a lifetime, Mother Jones has uncovered numerous investment on the part of Hobby Lobby's retirement fund in a wide variety of companies producing abortion and contraception-related products. Hobby Lobby is currently seeking relief from certain contraception benefit requirements of Obamacare in the United States Supreme Court, which won, and promised to be a landmark decision on the rights of corporations and the extension of personal religious protection to corporate entities.
In the case of the Hobby Lobby Corporation, the company is closely held by the Green family, who purport to have strong religious objections to certain types of contraceptive devices and are suing to protect those religious rights. Remarkably, the contraception devices and products that so offended the religious beliefs of this family are manufactured by the very companies in which Hobby Lobby holds a substantial stake via their employee 401k plan.
As I suspect many readers will find this a hard to believe and digest. The data can be confirmed by reviewing the company's 2012 annual reports of employee benefit plan as filed with the Department of Labor. This, according to Mother Jones, Molly Redden, documents filed with the Department of Labor and dated December 2012, 3 months after the company's owner filed their lawsuit, show that Hobby Lobby's 401k employee retirement plan held more than $73 million in mutual funds with investments in companies that produce emergency contraceptive pills, intrauterine devices, and drugs commonly used in abortions.
Hobby Lobby makes large matching contributions to this company-sponsored 401k. However, it turns out that the owners of Hobby Lobby do not appear to have any problem with profiting from the companies that manufacture the very products that so grievously offend their religious principles. You may be thinking that it must have been beyond Hobby Lobby's reasonable abilities to know what companies were being invested in by the mutual funds purchased for the Hobby Lobby 401k plans. But I am afraid you would be wrong.
Not only does Hobby Lobby have an obligation to know where their sponsor 401k is investing in for the profit of their employees, it turns out that there are ample opportunities for the retirement fund to invest in mutual funds that are specifically screened to avoid any religiously offensive products. So, some more hypocrisy. It seemed like today there's a lot of hypocrisy and a lot of, it's almost bait and switch and all these different, I don't know, it's all bait and switch, political jargon BS that, to me, is just all to make news and more division and.
Oh, I don't agree with it, but let's go ahead and invest in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, really? I mean, it just goes to show you anybody will do anything for a profit.
Yes, and that's pretty sad. And I want to quickly touch upon the latest Parker Malloy's attack on the elderly. First it was Joan Rivers, and then that poor dude on American's Got Talent.
Yeah, the song. You know, it's like, what is it with these transgender keyboard activists, you know, whatever they want to call themselves, badgering everybody. I mean, you know, oh, no, he referred to a trans woman as a man, or blah, 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 blah. It's like, come on, get the fuck over it. Pardon my French, but I'm sorry, you know, get over it. And
but we want equality, you know?
But yeah,
we want equality.
Let's make ourselves look like a bunch of freaking ass clowns to society so that we can just basically be screwed even more. Like I said earlier in the show, it's coming down the pipe. And, you know, Mark and I have been saying this since the whole Janet Mock Piers Morgan thing, that this is a bad, bad situation. And why is it? It's because of the fact that there's so many people that are going to now see us in a very, 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 very bad light.
Yeah, they're going to think of us as troublemakers. We can't hire these individuals. We want nothing to do with these individuals because they're going to turn around and create ruckus about anything and everything, and that's not good. You know, you need to have compassion for the world. You need to realize that not everyone understands what we're doing. It needs time. It's not going to happen overnight. Yeah. And these young trans advocates that are using the keyboards to create all this circus are ruining for everybody.
Exactly. And one of our chatters, Jackie, she just said that I led the trans community in last year's Austin Pride in front of the entire parade, waving the trans flag. But she says, I didn't even attend this year because I feared hostility from the LGBT because of the trans advocates these days. Now, you know, this is another big problem that, you know, the LGBT is supposed to be a home for the T, to be able to thrive and be ourselves. But you know what? Because of all the latest so-called advocates, the LGBT doesn't want anything to do with us. I have even heard, I've seen so many posts after Pride about trans girls having problems with the gay and lesbian community, you know, and you know what this is stemming from. This is thanks to all these new advocates, Laverne Cox, Janet Mock, Fallon Fox, Carmen Carrera, Parker Malloy, you know, that writes for The Advocate and the Huffington Post, these ridiculous articles. This is the kind of stuff that's this is the kind of stuff that sets us back. This is the kind of stuff that is hurting us.
I want to say something before we get off the air live. We're going to have Willem Belly. Our show time has changed for this Thursday to accommodate her. It will be 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and I guess it would be
3 p.m. Mountain Time.
3 p.m. Mountain Time, and I guess it would be
4 p.m. on Central Time.
It's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Anyway, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Gay Life Television.
Yes, we want to thank all of you for tuning in.
Yes.
Thank you to the chatters. Thank you to our sponsors, our advertisers. And we want to tell you guys something that we tell you every week. We love you, but remember to always love yourselves too.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.